Good morning. I promised you a video and I am coming to you with some Chinese cookies. And the first thing we're going to do is get the flour together. And it calls for some cake flour, but I do not have that on hand. So I am going to teach you how to substitute for some cake flour. The first thing we need is 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, for every cup of flour, we're going to add in move this aside so I can show you. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So we had 3.5, that's 2, 4, 6, 7. We need 7 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now that we got that all together, we're going to use a sifter. I'm going to pour that all into it. Now the reason why we're sifting it is to make sure that it's all through this mixture. And that way too, we make sure that there are no chunks of any of that cornstarch or flour. Now to finish the dry ingredients, we're going to take our baking soda and we're going to now add that in. We need 1 1/4 teaspoon. Then we need salt, and that we're going to need 3/4 of a tablespoon. Now we're going to mix this all together and set this aside. Now the recipe calls for a shortening, but I don't want to use that. Reason is because I don't want to use all that hydrogenated oil. So I looked up some substitutions, and the one that I decided on doing is butter. Now butter will be a 1-to-1 ratio for the amount that we need, but this has more water in it. But I think we're going to be okay because when we substituted the cornstarch in, that should supplement for the difference between the water and how much more flour that we need. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this up in pieces. I did not thaw it out, which I should have done, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have done that as well. Realized you did not thaw enough butter. Well, let's go ahead and get this in here. I'm going to cream this together before I add in the sugar, and that way this is going to be softened up and ready to receive that sugar. Now that it's softened up, we're going to add in 1.5 cups of the sugar. And we need that to cream together. Now before we add in the egg, we're going to go ahead and push all this off and scrape down the bowl. Then once we have that done, then we're going to go ahead and add in the egg. Next, we're going to add in 1 egg. Notice that I put the speed down more. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Now that we have everything in there, we're going to turn it up just a little bit. Now before we go into adding the flour into this mixture, we're going to take everything off of the beater once again, and we're going to take the sides and make sure that we take everything off the sides. So when we add it, everything is combined the way it should be. We're going to turn it on low. We're going to start adding in that flour mixture, a little at a time. Now I added all of the flour. You will find that it's a little bit dry at first, but as you let it combine and do it slowly, you'll see the consistency be much better. Now the next step we have to do before we roll that dough out is we need to take our slivered almonds and we're putting them into a Ziploc bag. And I got a little messy, but we picked that up just like this. Then we're going to just take and crush them up. Because the reason we're doing this is these are actually going to go on the outside of the dough roll before we put it into the refrigerator to set up and be ready for us to slice. Now the next step we're going to do is take all of our dough out from the bowl and put it onto the counter. It'll still be a little bit crumbly at this point, but it does stick together. So we're gonna mold this together. And the whole thing we're trying to do at this point is really just make a log. And we just want to make sure that we have it all together. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, but we are trying to make it consistent. Just like that. And now what we want to do is take those nuts and we're going to pour them onto the counter. If we see that there is any trouble at all getting these to stick, the easiest way to take care of that is to take some egg whites, beat them up, and then brush it on the outside. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and just roll them in here and get these on the outside of this roll. These actually are sticking, so I'm okay. If you find that they're not, we could easily go ahead at this point, and I may just do that. I'm going to go ahead and get some egg whites, brush it on the outside, and I'll put additional ones on. All right, now when you're doing egg whites, you want to just put it from one side of the egg to the other. We don't want to have the yellow part, only the white part. And we can use this for something else. All right, I like to kind of beat it up just a little bit. Not crazy, but I want it to be a little bit frothy. Just my preference. Once I start seeing the bubbles actually coming in here, then I feel like that's a good egg wash. Just like that. Now we're going to take our pastry brush and brush it on the outside. And this is just really making a bonding agent that the nuts are going to attach to or adhere to. And I probably would have had enough, but I want to have a little bit more. And now we can see the difference on how many more nuts are going onto this log. And now we are all set. All we have to do is put this into some plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and then we'll be ready to slice these up and bake them. I already put one layer on. I'm putting another on where the seam's at so that it won't dry out when it's in the refrigerator. All set. Now let's put it in the fridge. Now since I have these left over and I do have some egg on it, I'm going to go ahead and toast these up so that I can use these again for something else. That way they don't go to waste because of the egg. Now to toast these, all we're going to do is put them in a pan, put some high heat underneath of them, and we're going to let those natural oils just come out themselves and brown these. Now they're all browned up. So all we have to do is let them cool down and then we can store them. All right, it is time to get those cookies out. You can leave them in as long as you want. I went and did some errands and that, but you at least have to leave it in a half hour for sure. Now we're gonna get this tray ready by greasing it. And what greasing it means is you're just gonna take some butter and we're going to put that all across the bottom to make sure everything is covered, and this is so it does not stick. Even though this is a non-stick pan, I'm still going to go ahead and put a really thin layer of butter on there. I've preheated the oven at 350 degrees and now we're going to slice this. Now that this is nice and firm, and nothing like making a mess as soon as you start, right? We're going to take and do about a half an inch. And that's what the inside looks like. Now let me go ahead and get my cutting board. That'll help keep it firm. You're gonna be able to always get 24 at least. I had one end as an extra, but I'm still gonna bake that. So let's go ahead and get started by putting these on. We're only gonna do 3 across, and we're going to do 4 down. So we're going to be baking 12 at a time. Now let's get them into the oven. Now we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. These can run anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. Now in the meantime, we're going to melt the butter and get started with making the icing, because these do taste really, really good if we put some chocolate on top. And what does not taste good with some chocolate on top? So I'll start with that, and I want to get this melted down. Once this is melted down, then we're going to add in some cocoa powder. Now that the butter is all melted, we're going to add in the chocolate and get that stirred in as well. At this point, you want to make sure that you turn the temperature down though, because you don't want to scald this. See how that's melting? Mixing in with that butter. Just make sure you get all the lumps out so it's a smooth icing. Now once we do this, then we're gonna rotate what we use. We're gonna put some powdered sugar and a little bit of milk, and we're gonna stir. And we're just gonna keep doing this until we get all of this combined. And I'll put the recipe for this down below so you don't have to worry right now about any measurements. This smells so good. And if you find that it's too thick for you, you can always add a little bit more milk just to get it to the consistency that you want. But be so careful that you don't put too much, because then you're going to have to worry about it being too thin and not being the right consistency for you. But this is looking perfect. Turn the heat off. And we are ready. All right, 10 minutes went by. Let's take a look at them and see what they look like. And I can tell they're not quite there. The center is still pretty shiny. So we're gonna give them a few more minutes. Okay, but it's been a total of 15 minutes. I think my oven might be off a little bit temperature-wise, but these look good now. Let me show you. Look how good those look. And see, there's no wet spots on the top or anything. They have some bounce. Now all we have to do is let these cool down. Now the other thing I wanted to bring up and show you is with cookies, you do not have to bake them all at one time. If you want to just bake a dozen, that's fine. All you need is some freezer bags, and let the cookie dough just be raw. We're going to put them into the Ziploc bag. We'll do maybe, I don't know, 6 to a package. And then we're going to label what these are right here. Put these into the freezer, and I can pull cookie dough out anytime I want and put it right into the oven. Now, if you put it in frozen, you're going to have to adjust your time and just kind of watch the cookie. Otherwise, you can just bring it out, put it on the tray, let it thaw, then put it into the pre-baked or preheated oven, I should say, at 350. The next thing I wanted to show you is that icing was all ready. It's nice and smooth. It's easy, pliable to work with. Perfect. I just put it in a piping bag, and I'm going to clip the end off right here just so that it can squeeze out enough that I want it. And I'll show you how to do that as soon as those cookies are cool. I didn't want to wait, so I put them in the refrigerator for a little bit. And now they're all nice and cool. So we're gonna show you, and this is all nice and cooled down too, so this is gonna be perfect. We need to cut the tip so that chocolate can come out. Let's see, squeeze a little bit. Yeah, that's gonna be really good. Okay, now what I do is always put a rack on top of a tray. So anytime you're icing cookies, let me do it this way and you can see it a little bit better. Whenever you're icing cookies, that way if anything drips, it's not going onto your counter, it's going onto a pan that's easy to wash. We're going to take it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just like that. And I think we're going to do each one a little bit different. And if it gets clogged up, see that little piece right there? Just take that out. And then you can move on to icing again. And like I said, if it gets clogged, just take and squeeze it out. It's just where the icing didn't mix well. Then this one we're going to do a little bit different. We'll go ahead and we'll do a circle. And this one, we will just go ahead and put a dollop in the middle. And this is more traditional, what we would have done in the bakery. So I'll do more this way. Now you're going to have extra chocolate, so this is easy to store. All you're going to do is take out the very end so that it's empty. We're going to take a little clip, fold it over, put the clip on, then this end, we're going to twist, fold over, and I'm going to take a rubber band and just do like that. That way it's airtight, it's not going anywhere, and that icing will be ready. Just keep it on the counter. That's nothing that's going to spoil. Now let's taste one of these cookies, and I'm going to take this one. Now these, they're nice and crunchy. These are excellent with a cup of coffee or a glass of milk. These ones, I love Dunkin'. They have the perfect amount of almond flavor. It's not overbearing. And if you like a crunchy cookie, this one's for you. Glad you stopped by, and this is your bonus video. See you next time.